afternoon, students. I hope you are well. I hope you're staying safe. I miss you and I'm thinking about you. Today we are looking at our worksheet about Lee. Please find your worksheet. Pause the video and find this worksheet that we studied in class. Find your paper and close so you do not see the sentences at the bottom of the paper. Can you remember about Lee's life? Can you remember where Lee is from? He is a refugee. He is from Vietnam. We spell that capital V-I-E-T-N-A-M. And this is Lee's life in the past. It's finished time. You are going to listen to some sentences, to 3 sentences in the past about Lee's life. Pause the video now and get a pencil and your notebook. Listen and write the sentences that you hear. So pause the video, pencil and notebook, and then listen to the 3 sentences about Lee's life. I will say each sentence 2 times. How many times? 2 times. Sentence number 1. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. Listen again. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. Sentence number 2. Lee applied to come to the United States. Lee applied to come to the United States. Sentence number 3. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. Listen one more time. Number 1. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. Number 2. Lee applied to come to the United States. Number 3. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. Now we're going to look at those sentences. If you need to listen again, you can pause and go back and listen again. But remember, do not look at the sentences at the bottom of your paper. This is testing how you are hearing and your writing. So pause the video and write those sentences. Okay, now let us look at those sentences together. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. Next sentence. Lee applied to come to the United States. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. Let's look back at those sentences. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. Lee applied to come to the United States. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. If we look at our first sentence, what is the verb in that sentence? The verb is escaped, and there's my past. Finished time, simple past. Lee applied to come to the United States. My verb is applied. There's the past. Simple past. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. My verb in that sentence is stayed. These are all the simple past. Finished time. So let us look at those words right now. Work. What is my past? There's my verb, work. What's my past? Stay. What's my past? Land. What's the simple past of this verb? Live. Simple past. Move. Simple past. Apply. What's my simple past? Study. What's the simple past? Remember, simple past, finished time. So pause the video and think and write, what are the simple past of those verbs? And then when you come back, we'll look together. Let's do it together. Work. Simple past. Ed. Worked. Stay. Simple past. Stayed. Ed. Land. Simple past. Landed. Ed. Live. Now look, my verb ends in an E already. So my past lived. Move. Look, my last letter is an E. So the past, just add D. Moved. Apply. Well, there's my last letter, Y. But what happens in the simple past for this verb? Applied. I-E-D. Study. Past. Studied. I-E-D. But I have a question for you. My verb is play. What's the past of play? My verb is stay. What is the past of stay? Played, ed. Stayed, ed. So my question is, why is it study and the past is studied, I-E-D, but play, played, stay, stayed? Why? Well, let's look. A-E-I-O-U. What are these letters? These letters are vowels. B, C, D, F, G. What are these letters? These letters are consonants. So let's go back and look again. Play. There's my Y. What is A? A is a vowel. Stay. There's my Y. A is a vowel. So, in my verb, if this is a vowel and my last letter is Y, ed. If we have my Y here, and what is this? What is D? A vowel? No, a consonant. If this is a consonant and a Y, past, I-E-D. So, apply. There's my Y. What is L? L is a consonant. So in the past, the Y becomes an I. Alrighty, good job. So we looked at spelling. We looked at when we add ED. We look when we add just D. And we looked at when we add IED. But what about speaking? Speaking, for example, stay, past, stayed. Move, past, moved. What about want? What's the past of want? Now we know we add ed, but what is the speaking? Listen. Want, wanted. What about need? Need. Past, well, the spelling is ed. Speaking, needed. Want, wanted. Need, needed. If the last letter of the verb is T or D, then our pronunciation ud. Wanted, needed. So practice saying those verbs and their past. Now, go back and listen and practice speaking. Let us look at our sentences now on the board. There's my sentence. Beginning of the sentence is a capital letter, also capital letter because it's a name. Vietnam has a capital letter because it's the name of a country. And at the end of the sentence we have right here, what is that? What is that there? There's my period. Now, listen how I say that sentence. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. So at the beginning of the sentence, I take a breath. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. There, stop. My period tells me I'm at the end of my breath. Look what happens if I change where I put my period and what happens when you read it. If I put a period here, if I put a period here, Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. Is that a good sentence? Do we say the sentence like that? No, we do not. So the period is telling us where we take our breath and where we finish our breath. Beginning of our breath, finish our breath. So listen to that sentence again. Lee escaped from Vietnam by boat in 1985. There's my end. If we look at the second sentence, Lee applied to come to the United States. Now look what happens if I put in periods. What happens here? It's not a good sentence. It's not a correct sentence. Lee applied to come to the United States. So our period shows us where we take our breath and where we end our breath. Now, final sentence at the bottom right there. Lee stayed in a refugee camp for a year. These are sentences. These are sentences, and we want to make it sound more interesting. So, we're going to think about changing our sentences into something more interesting, to make it more into a paragraph. And we will continue with that very shortly. Now, when you finish watching the video, show that you have watched it. You can like it, or you can send an answer, but make sure that you send something at the end of your video. That way I know that you have watched the video and I can see what you are learning. So that's very important. Alrighty, we will continue very shortly.